Everybody, welcome to a new show we're calling Sunnydale Review. I'm Brian.
I'm Jillian.
Jill, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm really excited. We're finally recording the very first episode.
I know. This has been like over a year in the making at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about it maybe even before we could get everything started, at least floated the idea, and then once we could get everything kind of got up and running, we're like, all right, let's actually talk about it. But what is the Sunnydale Review?
So the Sunnydale Review is going to be kind of a passion project with the both of us. I'm a huge Buffy fan from years and years ago. I found Buffy back in probably middle school. Totally one of those things kid homesick for a day, just browsing through channels.
Right.
And I know what episode I found, and it was totally Seth Green who got me into the show, which is ironic, and we'll talk about that when we get there.
Okay.
On why it was ironic that Seth Green pulled me into the show, because I had known him from Austin Powers and
Scooby-Doo maybe.
Not so much Scooby-Doo. Robot Chicken.
Of course, yeah.
Without a Paddle, huge Seth Green fan. I'm sorry, I'll admit it. But so totally his fault. But just fell in love with the show, and then we both went to college together.
Yes.
And ended up just kind of talking about Buffy one day. I don't remember how it happened, but you were the only other person at college that I knew that was a fan of the show, and I was so just needing a Buffy friend. So yeah.
I'm sure at that time maybe you had DVDs or the comics or something, and I was like, oh, you like Buffy? I like Buffy. I'd never met anyone else who liked Buffy either. So I was like, well, this is crazy. And then we got to talking, and now we're here. I think for me, I definitely saw it in the morning, maybe before school, in middle school or something. On I think FX was doing 2 episodes a day at the time, and it was definitely one of those shows where it's wait, what is this? These are vampires and monsters, and how come no one ever has told me about this? And then, just watched it. Probably started randomly in season 3 or something, and just went right along. And I think it's one of the best shows still to this day. Obviously rewatching it for this, I think it's awesome. I think Buffy as a strong female protagonist is amazing. She's witty and obviously kicks ass. She's kind of a prototypical Jessica Jones. If people are watching more a modern TV show, there's kind of similar powers too. Now that I think about it, I don't know. Josh Whedon, you got to talk to Marvel about that. I don't know when Jessica Jones started, but I think it's that, and then started watching Angel, of course. Once that was, I think that was on TNT. It worked out to have 2 episodes a day with that. And I'm really excited to go back and rewatch this today. We're going to be actually covering the Unaired pilot.
Yes.
So I guess, what are your first thoughts on that? Because I didn't know this was a thing until we started formulating the ideas for this show. And you were like, oh yeah, on YouTube there's this unaired pilot of Buffy.
Yeah, there is. It's 25 minutes, which I think is really kind of strange, only because it's so much shorter than a normal episode, even without the commercials. But if you go on YouTube and just search Buffy unaired pilot, it's from I want to say 1994.
Right.
And it's just so different. And it's there are elements there, and you can tell there are elements there that did get carried over into the show. But it's just so different, and I'm so glad that they made the changes that they did. Yeah,
I think it's definitely a really contained story, whereas the pilot and the second episode are kind of this bigger, overarching.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Halfway through, it's to be continued to the next week. This is very simple. Okay, here's Buffy. Here's this threat inside the school. It's all. There's a lot of stuff that is similar. I think the first scene, right, is pretty much the same. But then they added obviously more characters that carry over to not only the whole 2-part pilot, but the whole series, Angel. And I think the biggest thing is Willow is played by a different actress.
She is. The actress they have playing Willow is cute, but she doesn't play the character in the same way. I think a lot of Allison Hannigan ended up going into the who Willow was at the beginning. And it was kind of, so I was watching this thing this morning on YouTube. It was a featurette from I think like season 4, and it was a casting Buffy the Vampire Slayer like featurette. It must have been off of one of like the DVDs.
Right.
And they talk about how the character of Willow almost has to be the exact opposite of an actress.
Okay.
Because she's very very vulnerable, very like, oh, how do I explain it? It's just like, to be an actress, you need to have that confidence. You need to like, and they were like, when Allison Hannigan came into the casting room, like lines that other actresses were coming in and playing as like sad, like she would play them as more hopeful, or and it's just a totally different thing. Where if you look at the lines that Willow says, and you like go like your knee jerk reaction of how somebody would say those, like she took it a different way.
Right. I think that because like obviously early Willow, there is like that air of like, yeah, she's the nerd. She's like a social outcast, but she's not like, woe is me about it. She's like, that's my life. I'm generally a happy person. Whereas like Xander kind of craves to be like that cool person.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, no, this is just me. I am who I am. And I can definitely see, I think watching Riff Reagan in the role, it's almost so jarring because you're so used to Willow as like
Allison Hannigan.
Yeah. And like, so I don't know if that's necessarily like for me making it so I'm really like, oh God, I hate this. But obviously they recast her, so obviously they also were like, no, we don't like this. Yeah. And it sucks because I was just looking at her IMDb before we started, and there's not a ton after like 2000-ish, so it's like, I don't know. My heart goes out to you, Riff Reagan. Unlikely you'll ever watch this episode. But if you do, you know, like, that sucks. I'm sorry that it has to, like, suck to watch it go on to become, like, a phenomenon that's even, like, culturally relevant today, especially with Joss, like, directing the Avengers movies. And, like, you know, like, having a hand in modern-day pop culture. Yeah. So, you know, it is what it is. But let's get down into this. What are your main takeaways from the pilot? What did you like from it, and what were you happy that they kind of like stepped away from when making the real pilot?
Okay, so watching it last night again, because I had to rewatch it because I hadn't watched it in like a year. I knew we were going to be talking about it today. Yeah. I think it's really funny that these scenes between Giles and Buffy did not change. Right. Like, it's the same lines. Yeah. There may be one or two very different, but, like, they're the same lines. They're the same scenes. Right. Some things that... So, the way I kind of did it in my notes, because I'm a nerd and I took pages and pages of notes.
I think that's good, because I'm not someone who took notes on anything. I'm just, like, one of those people who, like, I'll wing it. It'll be fine. We'll figure it out.
I prepped. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good. That'll help the show for sure.
So I kind of broke my notes down into what elements were there, so what kind of stayed the same. Right. What elements weren't there, so things they drastically changed. And then some things that were just weird. Okay. So for elements that were there, I said, so the underlying entire purpose of the show on subverting your expectations, being like, blonde scare girl ends up like killing the bad guy rather than being the one who gets killed. There was the first mention of Dingoes Ate My Baby,
which would become relevant
later. Yeah. And then like quippy one-liners and comebacks. It's good to see that was always really in the Buffy character, especially since this was kind of them like regrouping from the original movie, which I think we can talk about more when we get to the actual pilot. Right. Which I've never, I will admit that I've never actually made it through the entire movie. It's
because it's bad.
It's cringy. It's cringy. So
did you ever get to see Ben Affleck in it? Because I recently found out he's in the original Buffy movie.
Is he really?
He is. Yeah, he's a basketball player number 10. So, yeah. This is before Good Will Hunting.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that if we ever go back and watch it.
Oh, I will. I'll be on Ben Alert for sure.
Okay. And then for like what elements weren't there, we already talked about different actors playing Willow. There was a different library set.
Right.
It had like a spiral staircase.
Which I kind of liked. But I mean, the way it is now with the like 2 levels, like I think it honestly makes it feel like more one set, like a stage set, rather than like the different, way it was set up. But go on.
And I feel like they definitely use it as an excuse for Sarah Michelle Gellar to do that really cheesy like backflip off the stairs.
Right.
She's like, I don't want to be the Slayer. Backflips off the stairs.
I mean, she never complained that the powers weren't awesome.
Right.
It's responsibility.
Right.
It's not fun.
And then Xander and Willow don't seem to be close friends.
No, not like they are in the original show. Where you really feel like in the, actual pilot, I don't know how much I want to go into it because the next episode, of course, will include, but you really feel like there is a shared history between the pair. Obviously, like, they dated when they were kids, whatever, but it kind of, like, adds to the overall world building of the show really well, because a lot of times shows can feel like, okay, well, we started this episode, nothing really existed before this episode.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Buffy does a good job, especially with their relationship, like them being childhood friends and whatnot, establishing that, like, yeah, Sunnydale's a place. There was, before Buffy showed up, people lived here, people, had a life. But, yeah, the original pilot didn't quite have that.
The words yellow crayon come to mind, but we'll get to that. And then I also had special effects with vampires. Dusting was way different.
Yeah.
Which, okay, so the thing with the Unaired pilot is that the Unaired pilot was really their, like, test base. They hadn't been picked up by a network yet. It was really just, like, their kind of little, here's a sampler of what we want to do, and then they send it out to the different networks and see if they get picked up. So that's why a lot of things are different. Different actors, different sets. They had, like, no money. So
you can kind of tell.
Yeah. I mean, even when they got into the original first season, they had basically no money. But, yeah, so you can just tell that there are those differences.
Right.
So then in my list of, like, just weird things, so stronger right-away chemistry between Buffy and Xander.
Yeah. They felt like they didn't really, like, want Xander to be, like, how do I put it? In the way in the show, it's like, yeah, Xander's never going to get with Buffy. It's not going to happen. But in the original pilot, it's like, Xander is kind of cooler than he is, like...
A little...
You know what I mean?
A little bit, but it's just, like... I feel like in the Unaired pilot, Buffy is the new kid, but she's just kind of, like, floundering. She's like, anybody who's willing to talk to me, I'll talk to them.
Right.
Mostly because they came up to me and talked to me, and I don't know anybody here.
Right.
She doesn't really seem to have as much... right away kind of radar of like, oh, this person's kind of a crappy person. Maybe I don't want to hang out with them so much.
Right.
She's just kind of like, anybody who walks up to me, I'll talk to them and have this really like meaningful sounding conversation that doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
So there was that. Second thing was no Jessie.
Right. Yeah. Well, okay, that's we always we've joked about this every time I rewatch the pilots. I'm like, oh yeah, Jesse's a character. How does he slip my mind every time? He's kind of important. Too,
he's so important
for those 2 episodes, and then never again.
Wow, spoiler alert, we haven't gotten to the pilot yet.
Sorry, anyone who's watching who like found a Buffy podcast and was like, I've never seen this, let me watch this first, or listen to this first episode and see if I want to get into it. I'm sorry for that one person.
Let's see. So yeah, Buffy and Giles scenes weren't really changed. Buffy gave a lot more backstory about why she didn't want to be the Slayer, which feeds into kind of the movie more.
Yeah, I think watching this, I was like, wait, the movie's like canon? Yeah. I had no idea from the original show. Like, but then I was like, wait, let me look into this. Oh, she burnt it. Oh my God, this is a continuation.
We can talk about that more in the actual like pilot.
Right.
It's really confusing because you're talking about the Unaired pilot, comparing it with the pilot, but we haven't talked about the pilot yet. Right. So we'll get there. Let's see what else. First appearance of Jonathan standing in line at the Bronze.
Right.
I'm like, I just love him. Danny Strong, I love you. I'm sorry. It's. I just love Jonathan. He's such the Kenny of Buffy.
Right.
Which I never even watched South Park, but at least I get that reference, so, you know. Let's see. I have my notes. Why do the Sunnydale vampires keep choosing the theater to kill high school students? They just... Man. It must have been they had like 4 sets.
Yeah.
And that was the most built out one that they get the most camera angles of.
Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, like theater kids, both of us were theater kids in high school. We're more like accepting and like, yeah, like that guy, maybe he seems like a vampire, but I'll still like hang out with him and get murdered by him probably. I think it's realistic.
So wait, I'm sorry. If you were to meet someone and they were just like, hey, I don't go to your school, but let's go hang out in the theater at your school at night when there's nobody else there.
Right.
Complete stranger. You would go?
I mean, I think maybe in high school I would have. Maybe not now, but that was pretty dumb.
We might need to have a conversation off camera. I'm worried about you, Brian.
I'm dying from being a vampire. I
don't know. Okay, couple last things. Willow actually got bit.
Yes.
Which, Darla died, which would have had long-lasting consequences for the series as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, no Connor, no Darla from way back, you know?
Yeah.
So, it's the one person who's like, who the fuck, what is happening? It's Connor. I'm sorry. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah. I like Connor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
There's a lot of people who don't like Connor. I'm sorry.
I know. He's one of those kind of characters that people are pretty polarized on. But
yeah. We'll get there eventually.
I liked him. I thought it was interesting.
And the last thing I have was Buffy holding the stake out and open at school and throwing it across the courtyard. Not very stealthy there, Buffy.
No. So a lot of like, and it's like with any superhero story, it's like, I need to keep my identity a secret because, you know, it will come back to bite me, but no pun intended on biting, but Buffy just throws it. It doesn't, it like goes right through, what is it? Nofaru, whatever his name is, the like vampire from like way back. Like it's a movie poster that she throws it into.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, why? It was so cheesy. The ending of the like original or the real like second episode is so much better and like funnier.
Yeah.
More realistic where like.
Well, and it's like Giles was they're still in the same conversation where Giles is chastising her about like, you exposed your identity. Like, girl, what are you doing? And she's just like, oh, don't even worry about it. Throws stake across the entire student-filled courtyard and into like a bulletin board. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
The fan inside me who knows how this series actually goes just was screaming.
Right. It's weird. I don't know why we're like, yeah, this is fine. This is a good way to end it. Yeah. I mean, endings are hard, but you can think of better stuff.
It's quippy. It's witty. It'll work. It has no lasting consequences for the universe as a whole.
She didn't. Well, they didn't really do it in the actual show, but
no.
Yeah. I guess, like you said, this is really a test.
Yeah.
More than anything.
The reshoots were warranted.
Yeah, and it made it a lot better. And it also, like, it's funny to watch because it's obviously been, like, digitized. It's really old.
Yeah.
Like, the version on YouTube's kind of hard to watch.
Oh,
like,
it's almost black and white.
Yeah, it's, like, really artifact. It's, like, probably a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy that got digitized, like.
Well, it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy that was originally a VHS.
Right.
Because you got to think of when this actually came out.
Yeah, it's just
so
is a lot.
It's a little rough, but if you make it through it, and if you're a fan of the show and want to make it through it, it's worth watching just for like nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
And to be able to say, I watched the Unaired pilot.
Yeah, it's like it's a piece of Buffy history.
It is.
It's just strange. It's just a weird, like.
It is.
But, hey, I mean, we watched it and we talked about it.
We did.
So, Riff Reagan out there, her heart is warmed by someone talking about her.
We love you, Riff Reagan.
Yeah. Yeah. If you ever want to come on the show, we can Skype you in. The original Willow.
Oh, my God.
And we won't, like, cancel on you to put Allison Hannigan. We promise that.
But if Allison Hannigan ever wanted to come on the show, we would definitely have you on.
Yeah, no. And then if also is like, oh, I can only do it in Riff, That'd be... Maybe I should just take back what I said. We would also recast her as a guest. So mean.
She's not gonna want to come on the show now.
I know.
You just killed it.
Anyways, Jill, how is this show going to work going forward? What are we covering in the next episode?
Okay, so in the next episode, we are going to be talking about the 2-part pilot, which is Welcome to the Hellmouth and The Harvest. And the plan for kind of overall this show is that we're going to, for people who may be finding us and have never watched the series, what we're going to be doing is kind of keeping spoilers contained within their own season. So if it's something that like, oh, this is foreshadowing this, we might talk about it if it's in the same season that we're currently talking about. But overall, we do want to be kind of conscious of the fact that some people who find us may not have seen the entire series yet. So if it's something that happens in later seasons, then we will just kind of be like, for those of you who know the series very well, you will know what's coming up, like wink wink nudge nudge. But overall, we don't want to be spoiling things for people who might be finding the show and only seeing like the season we're talking about.
Right. So what you're saying is basically I won't be mentioning Connor again
until he shows up.
Right. So whoops on that. Broke the rule in the first episode already, but you know, this we'll iron it out next episode. If people want to watch along, what episodes are we covering?
Welcome to the Hellmouth and the Harvest.
Oh, did you already say that?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
It's okay.
We'll edit that out. Oh, maybe we'll keep it in. Just sounds like Brian's kind of dumb. I want to set everyone's expectations.
So in the next episode after that, we'll be covering. Hold on, let me get my notes. Yes, I have multiple different Word documents of notes.
No, this is good. Like I said, I'm unprepared. It's like you're like the Willow of the podcast. I'm definitely like the Xander in terms of like I'm not doing my homework.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm hoping the science teacher gets attacked by a monster, so I'm not an idiot to not doing my homework. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're like, what homework? I don't know what you're talking about. You weren't here yesterday. Okay, so we're going to do the pilots next.
Yep.
And then after that, we'll do the first 5 episodes after the 2-part pilot, which will be The Witch, Teacher's Pet, Never Kill a Boy on the First Date, The Pack, and Angel.
Right. Some pretty, strong episodes,
honestly. Yeah. Definitely ending on a high there. And then the next one after that, we'll do the last 5 episodes, because Buffy is a 12-episode first season. It's
kind of like a weird number.
It was because it was a mid-season replacement for, I believe, Savannah.
For Savannah? I don't even know what that is.
That's why it was replaced mid-season.
How did you know? Did you look this up? You're like, what did Buffy replace? Yeah, so catch that on the Savannah podcast we do after we talk all about Buffy.
So then the next episode after that, we'll be doing the last 5 episodes of season 1, which are I, Robot You, Jane, The Puppet Show, Nightmares, Out of Mind, Out of Sight, and Prophecy Girl.
Awesome.
And that will be the end of season 1.
That'll be the end of season 1. So I'm excited. I hope if you're finding this, you're also very excited. Jill, where can they find you online? Do you have anything you want to promote? Any Twitter, Instagram?
Sure. I have a Twitter.
I actually looked at your Twitter the other day. I was like, she has not tweeted in 3 years.
Nope. I have a Twitter that I don't use.
Yeah, because I was like, I think it might have been a Buffy thing. I was like, I'll tag Jill in this. And then I looked at it. I don't know if she will ever see this notification.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, if people start reaching out to me on Twitter, then I might actually start using my Twitter. Give me a reason to use Twitter, guys.
Right. So what is your Twitter handle? So they can give you a reason.
I think it's at Jillian underscore. I think it's at Jillian underscore Swan.
Okay.
I don't know.
This
is real time research here, guys.
Yeah, this is finally. I'm not the only one ill prepared for a question on this. Yeah, Jillian underscore Swan.
Yeah.
And your last tweet is Last year, August 18th, you retweeted Philip DeFranco tweeting about his show going live. So
I am not ashamed. I love Philip DeFranco.
Oh, yeah.
I watch him every day.
I'm sure he appreciated that. You're like, yeah. You know.
I am unapologetic in the fact that Philip DeFranco is where I get most of my news.
Yeah, same.
Because
very millennial of us.
I hate watching the news. I hate watching the same depressing stories over and over as I'm waiting for them to get to the thing I really want to see. But it's like, coming up. I'm like, is it here yet? So, yeah, no.
All right. So you can follow Jill there. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheFakeBMar. That's BMARR. I tweet more often than once every few years. Hardly ever retweet Philly D, though. I follow him and like his tweets. But if that's what you're looking for, Jill's Twitter is the place. You can follow the channel on Twitter at WG Everything, on Instagram at Wicked Good Everything. Of course, subscribe to our main channel, youtube.com/Wicked Everything, and this channel, Wicked Good Podcasts. We need 100 subscribers. This is going to come out in October. Maybe we'll have 100 subscribers on this channel.
That would be cool.
Probably not, but yeah, make sure you check out that, subscribe so we can get that custom URL, so I don't have to just search the channel. I can just be like youtube.com/Wicked Good Podcast. We have other podcasts on the channel, of course. We have Better Radio and Wicked Good Show. I almost forgot the name because we've changed it 3 times. Formerly Brian and Dylan Take On the World. Formerly The Reviewers. Currently, and probably permanently, Wicked Good Show.
Until the next time I change it.
Until the next time we change it, right? Yeah, so definitely check that out. Rate us on iTunes and tell your friends who also like Buffy. Or if you've been trying to get your friends into Buffy, maybe this can be like a way to do that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next episode. Thank you so much for watching. The Sunnydale Review is a Wicked Good Everything production. The fan art of Buffy was created by Fishbone Art. The logo was created by Tamar Kutab. The original intro and outro song was created by Alex Carl.